button.
Wonderful.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to 2-Bit Movie Club presents Futurama, arguably our most special presentation to date.
Retrofuturama.
Retrofuturama. We're going to be watching a bunch of my favourite things, which are... It's largely dumb shit from the past. It's easy to laugh at people in the past because they're often very, very wrong about things, and this is a collection of particularly shining examples of that. Although there are a few things they did get correct that we will be seeing, but largely, no.
I'm flying a little bit blind here, as I haven't seen all the clips, but I have skimmed through a few, and there were some eerily on-point predictions of the future that,
Yeah, well, there'll be some interesting ones. Also, you're going to see a lot of sexism. I'm going to say this straight up. There is just, like, from the 30s through to the 70s, which is the period that we're covering tonight, there is just naked contempt for women and their role in the world. Most of these videos are either about cars, TVs, or kitchens, and nearly every single one that's about a kitchen is just all like, well, that's one less thing she has to do around the house. More time for cocktails.
I'm assuming there's a heap of shots of mums calling the kids for dinner repeatedly.
Oh, absolutely. Except, you know, she's pressing a button and her TV is floating out of the floor for some reason. But yeah, it's all that sort of classic oppression of women that we know and love.
What's the racism level in this? Is it pretty considering the times?
Well, I will say there is a lack of explicit racism, but there is also a complete lack of anyone that is not white.
Yes.
So it's sort of painting a picture
of
yeah, sure. Back in the 50s when every single person alive was white.
Was white, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those sort of racism by omission things. You ever heard the thing about how Kodak...
I know why we're smiling now when we're talking about this as well, sorry.
Love racism.
Yes.
Kodak color film was sort of designed to work specifically to show the tones in white faces as a whole thing. So this is just like one of those forms of racism where they're not saying, we hate black people on the packet. It's just like...
They're just printing
this wasn't made for you.
They're printing the hate.
Yeah, it's implicitly in the photos involved. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff, but the sexism is much more above the surface.
I shall prepare myself.
We're going to get started with the first bracket. This starts us off with a couple of clips from the 30s, a clip of some delightful cars from the 40s, and then goes into... I'm not going to give you any preamble as this, but the final clip of the next 20 minutes is genuinely insane. It's from General Motors, part musical, part something else entirely. Let's kick that off.
Let's do it.
Please complain in the chat if any of the audio levels are bad or anything, because we're all figuring this out on the fly.
We don't have the regular producer here this evening.
No, we don't. The guy that knows how to use everything is actually doing actual work instead of us. So.
Yes.
Cool. I'm going to kick this off. Tell me if I need to turn it up or turn it down. I won't be mad if you complain up to a limit. Alright, let's do it.
Any automobile traveling through the air meets the problem of wind resistance. So engineers set about applying the principles of streamlining to the automobile. And by rounding the contours and tapering the rear, have smoothed out the flow of air around the body of the modern motor car and smoothed out eddies at the rear. Of course, to a bird, cars today might seem already well streamlined. But as seen by a worm, the modern motor car is anything but streamlined. Yet the bottom of a motor car represents about 20% of the surface and sets up considerable wind resistance. The development of more complete streamlining for motor cars will be the problem of engineers of tomorrow. Someday, this problem will finally be solved. Sometime in the future, the completely streamlined torpedo car may come into use. Elevated highways, wide and level, may let us go 120 miles an hour. But such a torpedo car on our streets today would be entirely impractical. However, practical streamlining has been applied with success to the finest motor cars today, with many additional advantages. The streamlines of the new turret top give greater strength to the body of the car than the old box-like construction of yesterday. The slanting windshields and windows cut down glare from rear and sides and make safer driving. Streamlined fenders enclose the wheels more completely and help to keep the car clean. And they protect the wheels from force of strong winds, making the steering easier. Sloping rear panels allow for more tire and luggage space. These modern streamlines round out all details and absorb them into a good design with new beauty and dignity of appearance. This practical streamlining brings to the new automobile increased comfort, quiet, convenience, safety, and beauty. Practical streamlining brings a modern motor car into step with modern airspeed styling, which has real economy and efficiency.
Some of the most famous fashion designers in the U.S. today have been asked to forecast what Eve will look like in AD 2000. One idea is a dress that can be adapted for morning, afternoon, or evening. It's the sleeves what does it. According to another artist, one dress of the future will consist of transparent net. The net probably to catch the males. Apparently in AD 2000 we shall be having a hair-raising time. Yet another designer goes so far as to believe that skirts will disappear entirely. Shoes will have cantilever heels, and an electric belt will adapt the body to climatic changes. The lightly clad woman of tomorrow, ooh, swish, will move in an atmosphere that's scientifically kept at the right temperature. The future bride in a wedding dress of glass. What the groom will wear, apart from a worried look, isn't mentioned. A dress of aluminium, with a sash to change it for afternoon or evening, and an electric headlight to help her to find an honest man. As for him, if he matters at all, there won't be any shaving, collars, ties, or pockets. He'll be fitted with a telephone, a radio, and containers for coins, keys, and candy for cuties.
If you happen to see this trim little buggy zoom up and quickly swing into a tight parking spot, you'll be looking at a remarkable new car, the Davis three-wheeler. With four seated comfortably, it takes off. Streamlined as a plane is this unique creation with designer Gary Davis at the wheel. Built in Southern California, it logically incorporates several aircraft principles, such as adaptation of the tricycle landing gear system. A switch on the dashboard operates built-in hydraulic jacks and makes tire changing an exhilarating experience. The single front wheel explains the car's parking dexterity and keeps it on an even keel in the event of a blowout, even at a top speed of 115 miles an hour. There are no fenders. Wraparound steel bumpers protect removable body panels. This little chariot can really run you around in circles. What's the trouble, Gary? Uh-oh, a modern Frankenstein. And here's another streamlined marvel on wheels. It only needs a pair of wings to be at home in the sky. Formidable indeed is its nose. With riveted aluminum fuselage, entry hatch, and rugged empennage, it's wasting time on the ground. But being earthbound, the monster is trundled out onto the highway to frighten other motorists. If you're looking for a 1960 model, this may well be it. Somewhat less spectacular is this sporty new creation of Gordon Burig of Pennsylvania, designer of the famous Cord. Front fenders of laminated fiberglass turn with the wheels made of light magnesium. Body and removable top are of aluminum and plastic. In the cockpit, or rather the driver's compartment, Mr. Burig operates the controls, closely resembling those of a plane. Thus, aircraft methods are becoming increasingly popular in automotive science.
Hello, I'm Betty Furness. In all my years with Westinghouse, I've covered some pretty interesting stories. But here is truly the most wonderful and exciting thing I've ever had the chance to talk about. It's the Westinghouse Total Electric Home. A home where electricity does everything. Heats, cools, illuminates, launders, preserves and prepares foods, entertains. It even lights a path to the front door with rayescent strip lighting. As visitors approach, more lights go on automatically to say a cheery welcome. Then, when they arrive at the door, a television camera takes their picture to tell the hostess her guests have arrived. When you step inside the Total Electric home, you step into an entirely new concept in living, organized around electric centers, such as this entertainment center. Electric heating and cooling keep the home constantly and automatically at the most livable temperatures all year round, and keep it clean and healthful too. Sterile lamps kill airborne bacteria, while electrostatic filters remove pollen and dust. The pride and joy of the man of the house is the Weather Control Center, a center that puts you in charge of the electric heating and air conditioning and the electronic air filtering of the entire house. If you like, the temperature of each room in the Total Electric home can be set individually. And for the amateur weatherman, the control center reports outside wind velocity and direction, outside temperature and humidity, and barometric pressure. In the winter, the press of a button de-ices the front walk and driveway. In summer, an automatic control starts the lawn sprinklers when the ground gets thirsty. Another beautiful and practical electrical center in the Total Electric home is the Laundry and Home Planning Center. With individual hampers, your clothes are sorted by type. Directly opposite, to save you steps, are the real geniuses of this very last word in home laundries. All you do is load the clothes in this new Westinghouse 1000 laundromat and electric clothes dryer. The remarkable program computer selects and carries out the perfect washing and drying program for every fabric at the touch of a button. It's the first home laundry that can think. Over here is the combination open fireplace and electric barbecue. By touching an electric starter, the host can get the charcoal going and demonstrate his cooking skill. And whenever the family just wants to enjoy a cozy fire, all he has to do is throw on the logs and push a button to automatically lower a protective screen. Cooking is really a joy in the food preparation center. Here you have a refrigerator that looks like fine furniture. For convenience, the upper unit of the refrigerator opens from both sides, and below are handy, spacious refrigerator and freezer drawers. Then, too, there's the miraculous electronic oven that will cook these appetizers in 6 seconds. Appetizers that were prepared from recipes kept in this microfilm file. Thousands of recipes are on file here, and simply by pressing a couple of buttons, the recipe of your choice appears on the screen.
Here to reveal a plan for a trip around the moon is the Chief of the Guided Missile Development at the United States Army's Redstone Arsenal, Dr. Werner von Braun.
A voyage around the moon must be made in 2 phases. A rocket ship taking off from the Earth's surface will use almost all the fuel it can carry just to attain a speed great enough to balance the pull of gravity. Unpowered, it will then keep circling the Earth in an orbit outside of the atmosphere. This is the first phase. However, if we can refuel the ship in this orbit with fuel brought up by cargo rocket ships, it can set out on the second phase, the trip around the moon and back. To facilitate this refueling operation, we will establish an advanced base in the orbit, 1,000 miles above the Earth. This advanced base, or space station, will be headquarters for the final ascent to the moon. Our space satellite will have the shape of a wheel, measuring 200 feet across. Its outside rim will contain living and working quarters for a crew of 50 men. Just below the radio and radar antenna is the atomic reactor. Its heat will be used to drive a turbo generator, which supplies the station with electricity. Access to the station will be through an airlock in the hub. The 3 large spokes are elevator shafts, and the small pipes are used as condensers for the turbo generator and the air conditioning plant. The entire wheel will slowly rotate at 3 revolutions per minute. The resulting centrifugal force will produce an artificial gravity for the men in the rim. Notice that the floors are placed so that the men stand with their heads toward the hub. The wheel is divided into 9 sections. The first section is headquarters and communications. The next section will be for Earth weather observation and prediction. Military reconnaissance experts, aided by powerful optical and radar telescopes, will observe every point on the globe as the space station makes its complete trip around the Earth every 2 hours. Next is the emergency hospital section. And then the astronomy division, where men will keep an eye on the rocket ship as it makes its trip around the moon. The rest of the space station will house calculating machines, maintenance facilities, air conditioning equipment, living quarters, and even a botanical and zoological laboratory. This entire space station will have to be prefabricated and tested on the ground. After dismantling, it will be transported in pieces up to the orbit. For the difficult job of reassembling the structure, we have provided a new type of spacesuit. Using gyros and 2 small rocket motors, the operator can tilt and move in any direction. Located outside will be 7 remotely controlled mechanical arms, each a specialized tool. By rotating himself within the spacesuit, the operator can use any of the arms for the variety of tasks in assembling the space station.
Hey, I wonder what we'd hear if I'd turn on the switch and we're driving along in 1976. Hello, Tower. This is Firebird 2304. Firebird 2304. How are things on the safety autoway?
Tower to Firebird 2. Tower to Firebird 2. All traffic moving in normal pattern.
FB2 to Tower. We're heading for Chicago. Please route us through. Over.
Roger, FB2. View screen map shows your location within our control zone. You have your choice of 2 routes. Green line marks scenic route. Red line shorter route.
We're on vacation. Who wants to fly?
Yeah, that means green. I'll tell the guy. Firebird to Tower. We'll take the green.
Roger. Check your fuel and engine.
Check. Fuel supply 3/4 full. Good for 662 miles or 6 1/3 hours. Gas turbine compressor 31,000 RPM. Gas turbine transmission 26,500 RPM. Turbine inlet temperature 1450 degrees. Turbine exhaust temperature 350 degrees. We're all set for auto control.
Roger, Firebird 2. Move to electronic control strip in center lane. Synchronize your speed and direction.
Check. I'll tune speed first. Now I'll tune direction.
We're coming in on the beam, Dad.
on, Firebird 2. You're now under automatic control. Hands-off steering.
Here we go on the high-speed safety lane. Ah, this is the life. Safe, cool, comfortable. Mind if I smoke a cigar?
Oh, not with this wonderful air conditioning. Hey, you want some ice cream or a cool drink?
Orange juice, please. Oh, me too.
I'm gonna go for the ice cream. Thank you, dear. Hey, there's a Firebird 1, the original gas turbine car. Runs pretty smooth for an old timer. Here's our east-north interchange.
The safe, easy way to make a turn.
Gotta slow down. Mr. Sun is just about to go down. Hey, Mr. Tower Man, where do we light? Where do you suggest that we relax for the night? Okay, Firebird, I'll put you on the beam. The sunset in's a honey, and the hostess is a dream.
Good evening, modern travelers. Won't you be our guest? We have push-button living at its very best. There's automatic sleep control in every bed, and our pre-digested food is cooked by infrared.
Okay, we like what you say. Mr. Tower Man, take us down.
All right, and we are back.
Wow. It's a lot to digest.
It is a lot to digest. I don't know if you caught the tail end of that because the delay means you don't get the full ending of it, but
no, I didn't.
The man at the control tower, I feel like we're trying to lure them to that specific hotel by telling them that the hostess was a straight 10 hottie. I don't know if I was just imagining that.
Seems like I missed out
also,
on a
yes,
very
as
important
people are saying in the chat, that they have pre-digested food.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's a problem that we need to solve. Like, digestion is something that we have got down pat, just as like the
years
human
of
race.
evolution of sort of,
Yeah, we're kind of fine. We've got the enzymes and stuff in there. They're doing it. I don't really need someone to be like, we cooked you a delicious steak dinner. Here is the brown goo.
We chewed it for you first.
Yeah, deeply strange.
Yeah. I loved the musical aspect of that. That was a real surprise highlight for me.
We've got another one of those coming up as well.
You know I'm a little bit partial to musicals, so that was pretty exciting.
Did that make you want to invest in the Firebird automatic car of the future?
The score to that was...
It was pretty
bubbly. Like, I feel that if I put that on all day long, I would be extremely productive.
That was quite nice.
Yeah, it was.
I liked the... Well, I don't know if I'd say liked. Cameo there from former Nazi scientist Werner von Braun. This is the second time that we have done something that has featured Werner von Braun, where they have not at all mentioned the fact that he is a former Nazi scientist. So one of our... the Bigfoot documentary that we did, we did a series of clips beforehand from like 1970s, 1980s paranormal films, and there's a long segment where they're talking to Werner von Braun about the possibility of aliens in space. At no point being like the United States, after World War II, under Operation Paperclip, took a bunch of Nazi scientists and just integrated them into American life.
Just washed away all of their sins.
There's a really strange thing about... I wish I could read more details about this, but the way people found out about Operation Paperclip has something to do with one of the former Nazi scientists appearing in the newspaper because they were complaining about some bad chicken they had somewhere or something.
Right.
If I can find what that is, I will post that link somewhere. It's genuinely insane. We have some more great things coming up in the next bracket. I can't tell you what they are off the top of my head because I've entirely forgotten. So we'll all be finding this out together.
So yeah,
it was a beautiful journey for you.
We're all in this together.
I do know that the audio on one of the clips we've got coming up, it's a little bit scratchy, but there is literally nothing I can do about it, so don't complain about that one. Right, I think we should probably just hop into the next one.
On to the next one. Let's do it.
But this was a kitchen like none I've seen. Put a card in the slot, and onto the screen pops a picture of just how your dish will look, plus all the ingredients you need to cook. No need for the bride to feel tragic. The rest is push-button magic. So whether you bake or broil or stew, the Frigidaire kitchen does it all for you. Don't have to be chained to the stove all day. Just set the timer and you're on your way. Tick-tock, tick-tock, I'm free to have fun around the clock. Jeepers, I'm exhausted. The kitchen of tomorrow is calling me. My cake is ready.
Time for the show. Everybody on stage. And now, a glamorous dancer in a special number, Dance of Tomorrow.
Everyone says the future is strange, but I have a feeling some things won't change.
A magnificent El Dorado town car by Cadillac.
Ensemble by Christian Dior of Paris.
Buick presents the sleek Centurion.
Driving Coat by Montesano of New York.
Oldsmobile Automobile's elegant golden rocket.
Sports outfit by Pat Primo of Los Angeles.
Náš fejeton. Dovedete si představit, jak to bude vypadat na světě za půl století? Ne? Tak se dobře dívejte. Televizní nakupování je rychlé a hlavně pohodlné. V zasklené ledničce vydrží potraviny čerstvé nejméně půl roku. Stačí stisknout knoflík a přesně odvážené dávky k vaření jsou připraveny. Mramorem vykládaná plotna vůbec nepálí a přece vaří rychle a naprosto spolehlivě. Indukčními proudy. Kuchařskou knihu nahradili děrované štítky. Elektronkový přístroj se už postará o další práci. Kuřátko spolehlivě a zaručeně do zlatova upekou infračervené paprsky ve skleněné troubě. To všechno nám ukázala pařížská výstava budoucnosti. Jen jíst prý bude muset každý sám, i v 21. století.
For the grown-ups, another bathroom completely molded in 2 pieces, with features that seem pure fantasy. Built-in electric razor and electric toothbrush. And here is something we'd all like to have. The same push-button phone we saw on the dressing table, but with the added attraction of a closed-circuit television receiver. The picture on the screen? Oh, that's of whoever is standing at your front door. You see him, but he doesn't see you. And you can give him any message you want over the 2-way communication system. Adjustable, shadowless ceiling lighting, of course, with panel-lesson panels for night light. The bathroom of the future in the house of the future. The versatility of plastics comes sharply to the front in the master bedroom. Fabrics and furniture of materials unheard of a short time ago. Practical but comfortable. Serviceable yet beautiful. One last look through the thermal pane windows with decorative plastic laminated safety glass. Functional, beautiful. Another dream of the future in the house of tomorrow.
Oh, it would be wonderful. Or maybe, someday.
This is a town of the future. A town whose 30,000 inhabitants will never know the meaning of road accidents. The name of this revolutionary project is Motopia, and its location, 1,000 acres of land at Staines, Middlesex. This miniature dream world is the brainchild of the Glass Age Development Committee, convened to stimulate new ideas and creative interest in architecture. The main departure is to have its roads at roof level, leaving the entire ground space free for pedestrians. Cars entering the town would reach the 50-foot-high roadways by specially built flyovers, and the ceilings of homes below would be insulated against traffic noises. Designer Geoffrey Jellicoe, in glasses, claims that although this £60 million plan, cost of a conventional town of the same size, was originally designed for the future, it can be done today as an economic proposition. Well, what are we waiting for?
And here's truly one of the most outstanding features of the RCA Whirlpool Miracle Kitchen. By merely pressing a button, a self-propelled serving cart appears. Now this cart takes right to the table your dishes, silverware, and everything necessary for the setting of your table. You see, it operates on electrical tracks which are laid under the floor. And then it follows a preset pattern to go wherever you want it to go. Of course, the dishes in the cart are absolutely clean because When the cart is in its place in the wall, it is also an automatic dishwasher and a food waste disposer. And then, of course, after your meal is over, the dirty dishes and silverware can be loaded right at the table. And then the cart will take them back to its place in the wall where the waste will be disposed of, and they will be automatically rinsed, washed, and dried. And another thing to remember is that if you should decide you prefer to use your very best china for dinner that evening, you merely push a button on the control panel. The cart will then return to its place in the wall and exchange your everyday dishes for a rack containing your very best ones. Now here's a special salad freshener drawer with its own degree of temperature and humidity for the storage of fruits and vegetables. Then right underneath the salad freshener drawer, we have a special freezing compartment which is excellent for the quick freezing of leftovers as well as for the storage of frozen foods. Now, are you wondering where the refrigerators are? Well, here they are, 1, 2, 3, concealed in the cabinet. And just a wave of the hand lowers the refrigerator. Each section has its own special degree of temperature and humidity, and special insulation eliminates the need for bulky doors and walls. Because of a new cooling process, there is no frost at all. And out here is our mobile cooking unit, which is controlled from the planning center. Now it operates in the same way as does the self-propelled serving cart, so it will travel any place you desire in your backyard. Well, next we have some of the most amazing features of the RCA Whirlpool Miracle Kitchen. Now in those days when time is too short or when your bridge game has been a little bit too long, you still can prepare a well-balanced meal in just a matter of seconds with the least amount of attention. And there's a wide variety from which to choose. Tonight, for example, you might want some chicken a la king, carrots and peas, a few French fries, and maybe a cupcake for dessert. Well, after the selection has been made, it will be dropped from a refrigerated area and will have been moved into the cooking or cooling compartment of the Magic Meal Maker. Then in just a matter of minutes, your meal is ready to be served at the table in a very easy process. Now, next to the meal maker, we have the electronic oven. Now, of course, the electronic oven cooks electronically. So the food is hot, but your kitchen isn't. And it cooks very fast. Why, a cake can be baked in a matter of 3 minutes. And a leg of lamb can be roasted in about 7 minutes. And a bacon and egg breakfast takes just about 90 seconds. The cooking and the timing, temperatures are all automatically controlled to assure perfect results every time. But best of all, the electronic oven is self-cleaning. So, of course, that eliminates one of the messiest oven chores that women have.
In preparation for the final contractual demonstration, a representative course was selected where the vehicle could demonstrate its capability while remaining in view of the observers. The course was laid out to cover concrete, grass, and gravel surfaces and included 4 ditches. Precise directional maneuvers were necessary to avoid surface obstacles. Check flights over this course were performed as the next part of the terrain test program. Erosion due to jet impingement was not found to present a serious problem, and after numerous flights over the same course, only temporary grass browning occurred.
Although certain buildings are timeless in their appeal, the same can't be said for clothes. What was fashionable yesterday is often ugly today, and yet fashions undoubtedly travel in cycles. With this in mind, we wondered what clothes would look like in the year 2000. And who better to do a little crystal gazing than experts Harry and Monty Moss, who, with their chief theatrical designer, William Wynne, have come up with some ideas like this, the equivalent of our sports coat and flannels. The emphasis is on a loose neckline with zips on jacket and shirt, although in general, the points that stand out are the use of color and the military line of shoulders, trousers, and boots, both borrowed from the splendid uniforms of the past. A more formal suit with once again the military influence, hence the hussar-style cape and cuffs, collar and back adapted from the pre-war full general's dress uniform. Since we've been talking about uniforms, here's what the soldier of the year 2000 might wear for state occasions. The idea being that the various regiments might by then be amalgamated. Actually, it wouldn't be a bad idea for the War Office to step in and claim it right now. Here's something for the girls, for our granddaughters to look forward to. A dinner gown in velvet and nylon. Adapted from a present-day countess's coronation robe, it cuts right across the theory that women will gradually wear less and less. That remains to be seen, but it's certainly a lovely gown. It takes courage to go out on a limb and predict styles of the future, but Harry and Monty Moss have taken the plunge. One thing they won't predict, however, is what the well-dressed bathers of tomorrow are going to wear, if anything.
Well?
I'm sorry, Mr. Winters. I can't find the purchase order.
All right, keep looking. Keep looking. Did you find it?
No, nobody knows where it is.
But they say they mailed the order 2 days ago. They're sore.
It's one of those things. I've looked through everything, stacks of these.
Yeah, we can't find anything anymore. For one thing, we're choked with paper.
Maybe we need some more filing cabinets.
Pretty soon we're going to have so many cabinets we won't have room for people.
The space age is upon us, in more ways than one. But such down-to-earth problems of office space need no longer exist, because already there's a solution. Data phone service, allowing a machine to talk to another machine over the telephone, passing along information stored in the space-saving language of machine code.
Mary D'Angelo, please. Hello, Mary. This is Alice. How are you? We want to send out some orders now. Can my machine talk to your machine? Thanks, Mary. Here we go.
Simple? Most good ideas are. Like this compact telephone console that answers your needs of today and leaves room for your growth tomorrow.
Good morning, Benson Company.
Is Mr. Jordan in, please?
Yes, he is. I'll connect you with Mr. Jordan. One moment, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Williams is out. Will you speak with someone else?
And this new idea that brings speed and ease to your everyday telephoning.
Margaret, we've got a rush order on 100 of these new X207 wrenches.
100 X207.
Yeah, will you call all our suppliers, see how many you can get immediately?
Yes, sir. I'll call right away.
Thanks very much.
Good morning, Mr. Thompson. This is Miss Jones at Morgan's. We need 100 X207 wrenches right away. How soon can you send them over?
Gee, I've only got 30 in stock.
Can you send those over right away?
Sure. By noon.
Thanks, Mr. Thompson.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
The card dialer, an electronic finger that dials for you.
Like the transport plane and the first stages of a multi-stage rocket, the way stations would provide a base from which a rocket may be launched. Various forms have been suggested, but a space station might look something like this. Such a space station might be built about 1,075 miles above the surface of the Earth. If it were farther out, it would be more difficult to send supplies. If it were closer, it would revolve around the Earth too quickly. It would, however, have to move fast enough to avoid being pulled down to the Earth by gravity. The Earth's gravity still pulls the station, of course, but the direction of the pull is changed by the satellite's forward motion. Instead of falling to the surface of the Earth, it keeps falling around the Earth. Station parts may be prefabricated on Earth, then delivered into orbit by transport rockets and assembled in space. Crewmen will arrive in the same orbit and travel at the same speed to carry out construction. The sections of the space station will be nearly weightless, and one man will be able to move objects that had to be lifted by huge cranes back on Earth. The men will be nearly weightless too, and will have small propulsion units attached to their spacesuits to help them move about. On the inside, the completed station would have to have its own artificial atmosphere. There would be very little pull of gravity to hold objects and people in place. To substitute for gravity, the station may be made to spin like a giant wheel. This would create centrifugal force and would give the occupants a feeling of gravity. They would be thrust outward toward the rim of the station. This would be down to them. Up would be toward the hub of the station. The way station may also be used for a research laboratory and for testing equipment for a journey farther into space. Besides the problems of getting into space, we also have the problem of returning to the Earth from space. As a rocket approaches the Earth from space, it gathers speed. It also meets increased friction as the atmosphere becomes more dense closer to the Earth. Friction causes the rocket to become so hot that it burns up like a small meteor. Once we solve all these problems about space stations, Jane wonders why we couldn't put one on the moon. And we could. You might say that the moon is a ready-made way station in space. The moon is about 240,000 miles away, about as far as 10 trips around the Earth. To get 1,000 miles from the Earth, a rocket would need this much power. To get to the moon, a rocket would need just a little bit more. Landing on the moon will have its problems. The moon has little or no atmosphere, so friction and heat would not be a major problem. But the moon does have a gravity field, although it is not nearly as powerful as the gravity field of the Earth. A spaceship would approach the moon at high speed. Small rockets could be used to turn the base of the ship toward the moon. Other rockets would fire out of the base to slow down the spacecraft so that it could make a safe landing. The surface of the moon is quite different from that of the Earth. It is covered with large pits or craters. These may be places where large meteors collided with the moon in times past. In addition to craters, there are mountains, crevices, plains, and plateaus. During the day, which on the moon is equal to about 2 Earth weeks, the temperature goes over 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And during the long 2-week night, it goes as low as about 250 degrees below zero. To escape the extreme temperatures, the moon station would probably be underground, where the temperature remains more moderate. It would need a source of power. Green plants might be used to produce oxygen within the station. The station would have to be sealed to retain its artificial atmosphere. Probably the only parts of the station on the surface would be observation domes, entrance ports, and radio antenna.
So Sorry. Welcome back.
Hello.
We learned a lot that time.
We did.
I think, to me, the most miraculous thing is that the, like, most insane predictions that they have are cooking times dramatically improving.
Yeah, being able to bake a cake within 6 seconds.
Roast a lamb within 7 minutes. Like,
Checks
the stuff about cars getting some sort of autopilot, not that crazy. Not even a moon base is that crazy. Space stations, not crazy. We have those. Like, it's cleaning and cooking that are the things that are insane. Like having all of your cabinets be dishwashers that move around your house.
I couldn't figure out where the waste disposal was on all of these things. It's just like these things that move around the house with... there's nowhere to go.
No, and it's not like plugged into anything, because it says that it's moving on like a copper track in the floor. Yeah. So I'm assuming there's just like a tub that's just full of all the gross shit from your dishes, and it's one of those jobs. Where you're just like, I haven't cleaned the tub for like a month. Open up, there are bits of like super charred roast lamb stuck to the bottom from your fucking freakish electrical oven, which is powered by electricity, by the way. Very strange. The fashion trends were great. The like weird little bit at the end of the guy being like, who knows what bathing trends will be like, if anything.
If they're even wearing clothes.
Like catty little bitch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was definitely interesting. Another Werner cameo in there, was there? Or it was just his...
Just the exact same design for a space station.
I feel like everyone just took the largest spoked wheel they could find and just coated it with like a bathroom style off-white ceramic.
I wonder why we gave up on the idea of putting gravity in our space habitats. Was it just too much of a pain in the ass? It's weird looking at these where they're like, it'll be only 200 feet across, there'll be a few labs that'll spin to simulate gravity.
And the gravity points down.
Yes. But then you watch, like, if you look at any videos inside the ISS, there's like 4 rooms on the ISS. Yeah. There's no gravity.
Everyone's floating.
Yeah, like your bedroom is just like a weird little hole that you dig yourself into.
Right. One day. Maybe one day.
Extremely expensive. I mean, that probably is why we haven't done that. Just a little bit disappointing. And now, that's all in fucking Elon Musk's hands instead of any government space agency, so we're never going to get fucking anywhere. Well, at least they were optimistic about the future.
Yes.
Once again, I have no idea what's coming up in the next bracket, so I'm just as excited to find out.
You can't remember any of it?
We're well into the 60s now.
Hang on.
I do know what this one is.
Is this the large, long 20...
Yeah, this is the great one, actually.
So this is the one that I've actually watched a little bit of, and it is pretty amazing.
So we're going to be watching... the bulk of this next 20-minute chunk is from 3 different clips, sorry. One was produced by Philco Ford. They built a futuristic house. It's from the early 60s. The house was meant to represent life in 1999 AD, and I've taken a few clips.
Was it BC or AD? What?
Oh, AD.
AD, so just needed to clarify, because everyone seems to need to put that on the end.
They always do specify.
Just in case you thought it was BC.
So they built this house, and this is just some vignettes of people's lives living in the house. They took out a few samples. But then, the video after that is from a Walter Cronkite program where he goes through the same house.
Yep.
And then the video after that is Walter Cronkite interviewing some futurists, which have some amazing stuff in there.
So this is a Cronkite-heavy segment where
a lot of Cronkite content in this one. The first video that we're watching, I first saw thanks to Sean, who is in the chat at the moment. That's Rumiko, who made a music video for a local band using clips from that very same video.
Okay.
If Sean wants to post that in the chat, that'd be great.
Cool.
But yeah, let's
do it.
Get a wriggle on and let's watch this.
Nice.
(1999 AD). More than a generation away, and yet dreams travel faster than light. And even now, scientists and planners are shaping the lives of our children who will live in the 21st century. How will they live? Perhaps in a honeycombed structure like this, the oldest, strongest natural shape known. Hexagon modules that grow with a family's size and interests. Michael Shore, 45, husband, father, is an astrophysicist. Several days each week, he commutes to a distant laboratory where he's engaged in the Mars One project, the colonization of the first planet. His minor in the some 10 years he attended a Midwestern university was botany. It is one of his many continuing hobbies. He is engrossed on this sunny morning in the study of the cellular structure of a new exotic fruit tree. Hopefully, his experiments will produce a giant peach with a thick protective skin much like that of a tangerine. This is one of the many 21st century devices or appliances that are part of the everyday life of the Shaw family. This workbench with its electronic screen enables Michael to call up photographic sections of the two parent fruit trees from which he began his experiments 3 years ago. At that time, he stored the two photographic images in the central home computer, which is secretary, librarian, banker, teacher, medical technician, bridge partner, and all-around servant in this house of tomorrow. All pertinent information about this family, its records, its tastes, and reference material, is stored in these memory banks, available instantly to every member of the family. Master James Shaw, 8 years old, student, attends formal school 2 mornings a week. Much of his education, however, is carried on in a kind of education center within the home.
And so, an era that began 500 years earlier with Copernicus and Galileo ends as the first astronaut takes his first halting steps onto the shores of the moon and begins a new age of man.
His assignments are programmed into the home computer and fed into teaching machines, which allow him to progress as rapidly as his awakening mind can absorb the audio-visual lessons.
Chopin, what's up?
Oh, playing a song.
Ah, what's it called?
I forgot.
You faker. How about playing the song we learned yesterday?
Okay.
Let's augment this a bit, shall we?
Okay.
Yes, life will be richer, easier, healthier, as space-age dreams come true. As part of his everyday regime, Michael Shaw enters this home health center. He lies for perhaps 15 seconds on a kind of medical couch. His weight, temperature, pulse, respiration, blood pressure, and electrocardiogram are routinely recorded. At the same time, his body is scanned for any isolated temperature pockets, that signal oncoming disease or a localized infection. At the end of the examination period, the computer calculates the amount of exercise necessary to balance Mike's food intake and maintain proper muscle tone.
Exercise requirements: 8.5 minutes bicycle, 6 minutes programmed calisthenics.
Oh, that's ridiculous. This thing can make a mistake, you know.
Your weight increase over 30 days, 1.1 kilograms. Repeat exercise requirements: 8.5 minutes bicycle, 6 minutes programmed calisthenics. Confirm, please. Confirm, please.
Control, 20% probability. 01, yes, here's the unlikely event that became true, and I just go on through the others the same way.
This is not a crap game. It's a serious game at the University of Pittsburgh about the year 2001. Rolling the dice is Dr. Olaf Helmer of the RAND Corporation. With Theodore Gordon, he is conducting a simulation exercise. A panel of experts has studied a list of possible 21st century developments, from personality-controlled drugs to household robots. They have estimated the numerical probability of each, from 0 to 100%. The 20-sided dice are then rolled to simulate these probabilities, a use of random numbers known as the Monte Carlo technique, and often used in think tank games. All of this is highly speculative, but the game serves a useful function. It encourages talented people to think about the future, the current fascination of a new intellectual breed, the futurists.
So we wind up with a world which has the following features. We have fertility control, 100-year lifespan, controlled thermonuclear power, continued automation, genetic control, man-machine symbiosis, household robots, wideband communications, opinion control, and continued urbanization.
A 71-year-old futurist who has been called the citizen of the 21st century, architect-engineer R. Buckminster Fuller.
We ourselves consist physically of atoms, and we know that all the atoms have their frequencies. It is theoretically possible to pick up all of our frequencies and actually send us by radio.
You mean we'll be able to transmit ourselves somewhere else?
Yes.
To be reconstituted in some distant place?
Yeah.
The home of the 21st century. What will it be like? How will we choose to live in the next 34 years? We might fill our with furniture like this. Our beds, tables, and chairs all made of paper. Our home may be lighted by electricity from fuel cells and the wood and leather of stick. Our favorite easy chair might be inflatable, like a huge balloon. The kitchen of tomorrow could look more like a laboratory than a place to bake a cake. Advanced technology already has begun to find a place in the home. With new developments in food preservation, a meal might be stored for years and then cooked in seconds under a barrage of high-energy radio waves. Robots may help us with our housework. It's all possible in the home of the 21st century. No one knows where the search for the home of 2001 will ultimately end. We do know some of today's possibilities, like these luminescent panels. Let's push our imaginations ahead and visit the home of the 21st century. This could be someone's second home, hundreds of miles away from the nearest city. It consists of a cluster of prefabricated modules. This home is as self-sufficient as a space capsule. It recirculates its own water supply and draws all of its electricity from its own fuel cells. As we approach, it could be observed by an automatic closed-circuit television system which would notify our hosts. Once inside, we might find ourselves in a glass enclosure where the lint and dirt we've accumulated during our trip is removed electrostatically. Now we step into the living room. What will the home of the 21st century look like inside?
Well, I'm sitting in the living room of a mock-up of the home of the future, conceived by Philco Ford and designed by Paul McCobb. This is where the family of the 21st century would entertain guests. This room has just about everything one would want. A big, some might say too big, full-color 3D television screen, a stereo sound system that could fill the room with music, and comfortable furniture for relaxed conversation. Now, in the 21st century, you might bring your favorite chair along with you when you go for a visit. To do this, you wouldn't need a small trailer, just a little bag like this. Now, there's a full-size chair in here, a chair that blows up like a balloon. Here's the way it looks after it's been fully inflated. When a guest arrives, he just pulls out his inflatable chair, a small pressurized air capsule would inflate it, then it would be ready for use. At the end of the evening, he'd just pull out the plug and put the deflated chair back into his little bag. Sounds preposterous, but some people are convinced it will happen. And here's another piece of furniture that might be found in the living room of the 21st century home. When you're finished, a little children's chair, just throw it away. It's made out of paper.
Robots are coming, not to rule the world, but to help around the house. In the home of 2001, machines like these may help cook your breakfast and serve it too. We may wake up each morning to the patter of little feet, robot feet. We spoke with a professor who is experimenting with computerized robots at London's Queen Mary College, M.W. Thring.
Professor Thring, what are these?
These are the first prototypes of small-scale models of the domestic housemaid of the future.
The domestic housemaid of the future?
Yes, the maid of all work, to do all the routine work of the house, all the uninteresting jobs that the housewife would prefer not to do. You also give it instructions about decisions, that it mustn't run over the baby and things like that. And then it remembers those instructions, and whenever you tell it to do that particular program, it does that program.
What is the completed machine going to look like? Is it going to look like a human being?
No, there's no reason at all why it should look like a human being. The only thing is it's got to live in a human house and work in a human house, so it's got to go through doors and climb up stairs and so on. But there's no other reason why it should look like a human being. For example, it can have 3 or 4 hands if it wants to. It can have eyes in its feet. It can be entirely different. It would have the full run of the house, and indeed these ones here are examples of machines that would actually walk upstairs. Just as the human being has the built-in sense of balance, we can build in a sense of balance into the machine so that the body part of it is always upright, even when the carriage is going up the stairs.
Could the machine conceivably make a mistake and just walk out of the house, go through the wrong door?
It could.
Nice people. Ah, my office. The perfect office. Perspex desk, no in tray, no out tray, no phone, no filing cabinets, no clutter. Quiet, cool, very efficient. I need never get out of this chair. That'll be nice. No distractions. Just me and the work. Alone and efficient. Alone. Wonder if anybody wants me. Nobody to ask.
Messages.
Well, BJ39 will know. After all, it works for me. I don't even have to go to it. Much better than a human being. Tireless and efficient. Anything I want, it brings. Even company.
Gentlemen, I'm just off to New York. Before I go, don't forget Charlie. Bye.
Well, recorded company anyway. Charlie. Of course, I could have taken it round to Charlie's office myself. But, well, the photograph's just as good. Anyway, old BJ will take it to him. Several copies. Wonder if it ever bumps into anything. Certainly free to get a lot of work done with no human distractions. Just me and my executive prism. It relaxes me. It relaxes me. It relaxes me. Ah, well. Letter. Funny how fast you get down to work when you're alone. I mean, really alone.
Take a letter, Miss Smith, to Mr. Charles Durrant. Dear Durrant,
Dear Miss
read
Smith,
your letter to me.
wherever you are, you always were late, inefficient, talkative. I must have threatened to fire you a dozen times. No more of that nonsense now. I'm an automated executive. Even the coffee's automatic. Go away. See? It goes away. Quietly, efficiently. The great thing about machines is that they do what they're told. They leave you to get on with it. Never late. They're obedient. They're never sick. They never disturb you, or argue, or paint their nails, or talk, or smile at you, or say good morning, or keep you company. They just leave you alone. They leave you alone.
This is Taurus, the concept that has evolved from the work of these teams of scientists and engineers. They believe the huge space colony could be built before the year 2000.
The space colony has the ability to provide a facility in space where human beings can conduct fruitful industry. The amount of sunlight that is present in every square mile of space is enormous, and that provides enormous energy. One of the things that one can do is to build very large solar power stations which collect sunlight, and to use that power either at the colony or to transmit it to Earth in the form of a microwave beam where it is collected on Earth and put into the ordinary electrical power system. The materials for the colony and for the power station largely come from the moon. It is much cheaper to haul the materials from the lunar surface than it is to bring things up from the Earth because of the difference of gravities. And so it is the abundance of good material for building aluminum structures and glass structures in space that come from the moon that make the idea work.
Constructed almost entirely from ore mined on the moon, the Taurus colony would become home for 10,000 people. They would live, work, and be protected within a vast wheel more than a mile in diameter. The Earth-like environment would even simulate our gravity as the wheel revolves once each minute.
The other materials like food and water are maintained locally within the colony. The initial supplies are brought up from Earth, and then eventually the colony becomes self-sustaining. We got the agricultural system designed so that we could actually feed 10,000 people in an area of just a little over 100 acres. This is very, very, very efficient. We did it by utilizing the sunlight that's available all the time in space, by optimizing the temperatures, by not having storms or things like that that damage crops. And we increased the carbon dioxide levels a little bit so the plants grow a little faster. By playing all these tricks, we were able to generate this fairly efficient farm in our design.
From dairy farms to manufacturing, the concept of living and working in space is a possibility with existing technology. That new space home, located 250,000 miles from Earth, would even have a far-out address.
There are places in space between the Earth and the Moon called the libration points. And these are places basically where the gravity from the Moon and the gravity from the Earth cancel each other out, and an object placed at that location remains there and doesn't drift off. They're called L4 and L5. There are two of them, one before the Moon and one on the trailing side of the Moon.
Space colonization, beneficial occupancy of possibly the last and highest frontier, the space beyond Earth.
Right now. All right.
We're back.
Robots.
Robots.
nothing is funnier to me than people like Zoidberg style saying robots. It is so fucking funny every time. And to hear someone say it like deadly seriously, just fucking, these robots could be part of our future. Oh yeah.
That was the most terrifying thing. I wouldn't want that trundling down my hallway in the morning, bringing me my boiled eggs for breakfast.
It's weird because I think the Boston Dynamics ones are kind of terrifying because they're quite good at walking and they're quite
they're agile,
stealthy and agile.
But that was just
terrifying because they're coming for you. Yeah,
like, I love the fact that they had to specify, we will teach this not to run over your baby.
Oh, it's so good. I cut off the end of that video because I thought it was very funny for him to just say yes to they can walk out your front door. But I also didn't bother listening to what he said afterwards. So whether he tried to be like, yes, but it's very unlikely, or whatever, I have no idea. For all I know, he just said yes.
There were a lot of interesting. There was the first thing that surprised me is that honeycomb shape is the oldest, strongest natural structure known to man.
I don't know.
Did you know that?
That just seems like such a hard thing to qualify. Is a honeycomb stronger than like a beaver dam?
I don't know.
I don't really know what else one of the built environments in the world. But also so that one, they're talking about the same house in that one and the Walter Cronkite one, right? And they start off the 1999 AD one by saying, based on the shape of a honeycomb or whatever. And then the Walter Cronkite one starts off with this weird shell-shaped thing, but describing the same house. So apparently, it must be. Because the Walter Cronkite one is set in 2001, 2 years later, but with the same house. So maybe
they've learnt from the.
They learned that shells are stronger than honeycomb. Is what they learned.
I love that the consistent theme throughout all this as well is that every space station is essentially just a giant roulette wheel.
Every time. Without
shadowing and spinning. That's good. This is good.
I'm learning
a lot.
A lot of lessons about UI design that we can learn from this, I think. I don't know how much people are paying attention to this specifically. It just pissed me off. Is the kid's computer thing where his only answers are X and Y to every question, which seems like a really fucking stupid way to learn regardless. But also that there's like 20 buttons that are all just X and Y buttons.
There seemed to be
there's no sequence to them.
It was just randomly done.
Absolutely baffling.
So, I mean, it's no wonder that he flunked, the poor kid.
He flunked,
The system failed him in this instance.
To have, like, the computer be, like, using... It's not naturalized language. It's like beep boop robot talk, except for you flunk. Seems unnecessarily mean. It was weirdly strange. I bet the parents just programmed that to try and make their child feel bad.
Yeah.
He looked kind of snotty.
He did.
I don't want to judge a child by their appearances, but...
A little piece of shit.
Yeah. There's a bit that I cut out where he's meant to be doing his lessons and he's just watching cartoons instead, so... We don't like that. We hate
cheeky little monkey.
We've only got one bracket left for you now. This one's a short one, 10 minutes, because somehow I'm bad at maths, and when I was adding these up, they weren't 4 20-minute segments.
It works. It's a nice way to finish.
You will notice in one of them there is a dirty great watermark across the whole thing, including a time code. That is from a website called Periscope Film. They are fucking fantastic. I have watched, I would say, hundreds of hours of their videos. They're based in the States. All they do is archive old film reels.
Yeah, nice.
They have just an enormous amount of different things, and I've watched heaps and heaps of it. And sort of the first idea for tonight was that I was just going to pay them for the rights to like a bunch of their things. And then they very kindly wrote back to me quite quickly and said, it's a lovely idea. We charge $500 per reel. And then I said,
thank you very much.
But they said that I was very welcome to stream the time-coded versions. Nice. So that's why we got one of those. But check out Periscope Film. I follow them on Patreon because I feel like if I watch that much of their stuff, I feel like I should give them some money. If you like them, maybe you could do the same. Getting some questions for someone to explain the Office pervert.
Oh yeah, that was a
repeated
creepy...
explanations in all caps. That is a lot. So that was the introduction to an episode of the BBC television series Tomorrow's World, where usually they started with some sort of fictionalized vignette before looking at actual technology that existed. We have another clip from Tomorrow's World coming up in the next bracket, which I very much love. It is on the surface, like in presentation, you'll sort of see the start of this thing and be like, holy shit, they completely accurately predicted the future. This is amazing. Like, they nail it in how the thing works, but how it actually works is the dumbest fucking idea in the world. I'm not going to ruin the surprise of what that is.
I feel like the last segment also predicted the way we're interacting right now, because I'm working at home largely and just talking to Google Home throughout the day and asking it to do bits and pieces for me. And I too like to get lost in my little prism.
Your executive prism
until,
that you have on your
until I
desk.
find it boring.
Yeah. Very strange.
That was a terrifying clip.
I hated
I would
the
not
office
want
pervert.
to
We
be
all
one of
hated
his
the office
secretaries.
pervert.
No, yeah.
Alright, well, let's go to our last smegment. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Our last smegment of the evening. We'll be back after this to say goodbye to you, but enjoy these final 10 minutes.
Lost, driving in a strange town with an address but no map. Sooner or later, it's a pedestrian who helps out.
Straight round the corner and up the road at the other side of this one.
But pedestrians naturally think in terms of walking. All too often, the driver meets a wall of signs forcing him to go in quite the wrong direction. So, ask again.
I've heard of it, but I couldn't tell you how to get there.
"50 yards, turn right at T-junction. 175 yards, turn left at crossroads. 200 yards, straight on at traffic lights."
Now that's what I call a really good navigator. A clear, precise instruction, given in plenty of time for me to position myself in the road so that I can negotiate the hazard or the change of direction with the utmost convenience. Yet here I am, completely alone in the car, and at the same time in the very best of hands. My navigator is this pre-recorded cassette of tape. On it are all the instructions I need to find my way around this route, and if I ever use a different route, I simply use a different cassette. Most of the time, the playing unit is switched off. It's only switched on to relay the instructions to me, and those times are dictated by this control unit, which is mounted underneath the dashboard. On the end of each instruction is recorded a bleep, and it's the precise length of this bleep which tells the control unit how far the car has to travel before the next instructions are due. The cassette player is connected to the control unit here. Here, the control unit is connected to the car mileometer, and as my road wheels rotate, taking me forward, this wheel on the control unit rotates. Now its revs are counted, and when that count corresponds with the information stored here from the bleep at the end of the last instruction, the next instruction is given. Now this unit will work with any make of car. All it needs to know to make sure it keeps me on the right road is the size of tyre that I'm using, and I can give it that information by clipping in the appropriate circuit board. Right, let's put the unit back together and give it another spin.
200 yards, keep left at fork.
The system, effectively, is a route map. It takes the driver from point A to point B. This prototype program has been set up over 20 miles in the Chatham area of Kent, covering roads through town and country. And the designers have tried it out using a number of different drivers, and they've discovered that despite differences in techniques, speed, tyre pressures and the like, their program over that 20 miles is accurate to within 30 yards.
250 yards, turn left at crossroads.
Applications for a system like this that spring to mind: self-drive hire cars from London Airport to the big hotels in the city centre. Routes could be programmed for these in all the languages of the world. Bus drivers could be trained on new routes with the utmost convenience. The designers have even had some inquiries from a firm that specialises in chauffeur-driven hire cars taking American tourists around the stately home circuit. It seems that the demand for chauffeurs far outstrips the supply, and the last thing a wealthy American wants when he's spending hundreds of dollars on his car is for the driver to get lost.
Turn right immediately before zebra crossing into Maidstone Road.
There is one drawback in all this, though. If for some reason or another the road system has been altered
there are roadworks or some diversion in force which isn't programmed on the tape, well, then this whole business just becomes one glorious guided mystery tour.
350 yards, turn right at T-junction, turn left at crossroads. Turn right immediately before zebra crossing.
No, darling. The trouble with her is that she's a little too short and fat. But I think this is right for her. Like it?
Yes, I do, Kelly.
Oh, you have that look on your face.
Could I see it a bit closer?
Okay, here.
The ribbon. Could it be moved?
Like so.
Like so. Exactly.
You sure?
Positive.
Okay. I'll have it shipped air freight today. By the way, how is our goddess?
Oh, she's screaming about George.
Her husband?
No.
The director.
Is this the man, Mr. Jenkins?
I'm not sure. Can I see him from the side, please?
Turn around, please.
Nope, that's not him.
Eventually, in the years to come, picture phone service will begin to appear in the home.
Read it 3 times this morning. It looks so easy.
Yeah, I told you.
Except I'm making a few changes.
Like what?
Like I'm putting blueberries in.
Strawberries. The recipe said strawberries.
I hate strawberries. Oh, Betty. And so does Arthur. He breaks out.
It won't work.
Well, a berry's a berry. What's the drama?
It won't work.
Maybe. We'll see.
Grandpa, it's like you're right here.
You too, darling. I can almost touch you.
You're right in the room.
Here, let me make the picture larger.
Grandpa, when are you coming to see us?
Soon, darling.
Of course, with picture phone sets, you don't have to be seen until you want to.
Ellie, I can't see you.
In a minute.
For heaven's sake.
Yes, darling.
Vanity, thy name?
Thy name is woman. I'm doing it differently now.
Hey, that's nice.
I'll pick you up at 6:30.
Nancy, look, I'm sorry.
Oh, sure.
I am. Honest, I'm sorry. I got hung up. There were millions of cars, and you should have seen the traffic. I mean, there were millions of cars, Nancy.
Why didn't you phone?
And leave the car there? Just sitting there in the middle of the freeway?
With all those millions and billions of cars, I know. Will you listen to me, Don, baby? I didn't have any good time sitting here waiting for you all night either.
I know. And so I'm sorry. I apologize from the
The depths, dum-dum.
depths of my heart. You might say that I'm devastated.
Hey, wow.
No kidding.
Devastated.
Completely.
Don, that's nice.
You like that, huh?
What girl wouldn't?
For you, Nancy, honey?
Devastation.
Right. I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Okay. And Don?
Yeah?
You're sweet.
That's because I love you, Nancy. Actually, I'm a louse.
I love you, too. Hurry over.
Okay.
Oh, and Don?
Yeah?
Stay off the freeway.
Designing the car of the future is no simple task, especially when it's a type of car that's never been built before. These experts are plotting a truly revolutionary vehicle, a so-called hybrid car that will offer the gas saving of an electric vehicle and the range of a conventional car. The goal of the Department of Energy's hybrid vehicle program, managed by the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, is the design and fabrication of a hybrid car that will have both a gasoline engine and an electric motor under its hood. It will run part of the time on gasoline, part of the time on batteries, and, when needed, on both systems simultaneously. It will maximize the use of the wall plug and minimize trips to the gas station.
RPM, so somehow you know that the engine is running.
The electric motor and the car is going along at maybe 2,000 RPM, and suddenly this clutch closes and the engine is up to 2,000 RPM.
Feeling well?
It's never going to start and idle.
The Department of Energy is no newcomer to this challenging field. In 1979, it funded the development of one of the world's most advanced all-electric vehicles, the Electric Test Vehicle 1. The ultimate goal of the department's electric and hybrid vehicle program is to help America reduce its dependence on imported petroleum.
Well, the new decade has predictably begun with thousands of predictions. And I have in the studio with me science correspondent Peter Ferry. Peter, let's have some of your speculations on things technological for the next 10 years.
Well, I think television is going to become even more entertaining in the 70s, and this is a mock-up of the TV console of the future. This would go by your armchair and give you built-in hi-fi stereo record player with the stereo speakers here, and here you could put film cassettes in to play on your television set, get your favorite old programs. And the television set itself, we can expect the screen to get bigger, but the set to get much slimmer. In fact, it's sometimes said now that it might be possible to make the television set so slim that it could be hung on the wall.
Marvellous.
All right.
Wow.
You missed out on the end of that video again because of the time delayed. I'm so sorry.
I did. Was it good? Was it worth it?
I mean, it's not great. It just made me laugh. The guy does a very funny delivery on the word marvellous. That was probably the most accurate thing from the night, I think, was the guy just being like, TVs get bigger, they get thinner, and you're going to be able to mount them on the wall. Except he said that that was going to happen throughout the course of the 70s, and I don't think they quite got there.
No.
Sadly for them.
Definitely not.
Also, I've never quite gotten there because I've only ever rented and I've never been able to put a TV on the wall. One day though. Fingers crossed, hopefully I reach that level of technology.
So navigation systems back in, what year was that first clip?
That's a great question. I think that was early 70s.
Okay.
Maybe late 60s. Might have been 67 actually. But yeah, so like, the idea, the implementation they suggest, which is from airports to popular hotels.
That makes sense.
That might be the only time it actually makes sense, because there are like a million permutations.
However, every time you travel from an airport to an inner city hotel, when do you not encounter a stupid amount of traffic or roadworks or anything? I can't imagine that this would ever work.
If it's based off the odometer...
No, not the odometer, the mileometer, I believe, is the correct terminology.
What the fuck is a mileometer?
That's what they said in the clip. It was a mileometer.
Yeah, well...
not odometer. The mileometer talks to the bleep loops.
Yeah,
and between the two of the bleeps...
It really did highlight the importance of the beeps in the technology.
It's science.
Yeah.
It's science. It's proven. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you'd just be like, you'd miss one turn and you would be absolutely fucked.
But they addressed that as well. They also said that, look, you know, if something happens, there's roadworks or a mystery...
You might drive off a cliff into the ocean.
You're a mystery tour for yourself. You're basically fucked.
Very strange. Crazy they did. It's weird because I watched that clip and like the first 60 seconds where it's just a guy receiving instructions, I was like...
I imagine there was a little guy curled up in the front of the boot, like talking through a little...
The latest technological breakthrough. A guy in your car.
200 meters, you just can see through a little hole in the front bonnet.
I've given him a periscope and a map. A flashlight.
Good times.
The picture phone, that didn't really take off. I think someone pointed this out in the chat, I assume it was Reese, that like, no one really wants to do video calls.
No, even now.
Like, I hate fucking doing Zoom calls, which is what anyone is doing at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't like it. They make me feel very anxious.
Yeah, it's
I don't
horrible.
want people to see my face while I'm talking.
I just want to text.
Obviously,
just
we're doing this.
Any form of
I like
text
phone calls. I don't mind phone calls, but yeah, fucking Skype calls make me feel awful. I will always, like, if someone invites me to a Skype call for anything, by default go video camera off. Just in case it's a no camera situation. I don't even want to run the risk of my face being seen unnecessarily.
I'm just happy for text chat for the rest of my life. I could quite often that's just how Liz and I interact for days on end. Yeah.
It's like, you know, things like with Siri and stuff, where, you know, all their ads about using Siri are people using it in public. I will never do that. That's the most embarrassing shit in the world.
So many people do. You see so many people walking around doing that.
I will like yell at the fucking Google Home that's listening in on my every conversation in the kitchen to be like, what doneness temperature is roast lamb? And then I will find that out. But like, I will never tell it to do anything out in public. That's heinous. That's disgusting.
What other clips were there in that we...
We had the horrible video call with the weird young couple fighting over some shit. We had the cassette tape navigation.
Yes.
Flat TVs of the future. The electric car. Someone saying that
Oh, the electric car. That,
so,
that was
said
100% a Toyota Celica that had just been gussied up and made to look fancy. I swear.
had another electric car clip that I ended up just ditching because 2 in a row was too much. From slightly earlier, where the car looked exactly like a Nissan Pinto, but with sharper angles. And yeah, it was absolutely hideous.
I love the setup for that shot with all of the designers all just standing around. They've just said, just talk amongst yourselves with the bonnet up, and everyone just keeps saying RPMs over and over again. I'm pretty sure they're all just paid actors.
I feel like one of those bits of audio was some guy saying, essentially, that's not going to work. He was just largely litigating a complaint that he had with it.
Yeah, 2,000 RPM and this vehicle is going to explode.
That's not going to fucking happen. Great, a little bit of truth in advertising. That's nice. Alright, well, I think that's about everything for this evening.
We're done,
yeah, we tried to make this one a little bit longer because last time I was like, this is too short.
It was very short.
And now I've got the same feeling again. So next time...
No, this felt like
this is
the perfect film time, that 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, that's good. Alright, we'll sound off in the chat if you've got any different feelings about that. Join the Facebook group if you want. We are doing movies on Sunday.
Netherworld Hellmouth Diner is doing food.
It's open. I had a fucking
open.
burger and some nugs tonight, and I made myself feel sick immediately because I ate it all in 30 seconds.
Like and loaded fries.
I missed it so much. This is an unpaid advertisement for Netherworld.
Yes.
Check them out. They're open. Scratch, Netherworld's sister venue, is doing takeaway beers Friday to Sunday. I was going to spruik a bunch of other venues, but I'm just listing off my friends. Go to Mongrel. Yeah. They're opening up as a deli in Milton, if that's near you. Their sandwiches are fucking amazing. They're making the bread themselves. It's real fucking good.
So many great
Cafe
venues.
in West End.
So many great venues still going at the moment that need support.
Yeah, go visit them. It's tough because it's hard to leave your house, but also these people are surviving off that money. If you can go somewhere in a safe way that's near to you and just spend a little bit of money with them, that's a nice thing that you can do.
Definitely.
Try and get veggie boxes from places if you can, instead of going to supermarkets. Lucky Duck's doing them.
Just getting preachy.
Alphabet's doing them. It's better. It's better for everyone. Lower environmental impact. Also, you're supporting local business and local farmers.
What about the cheeky Woolworths delivery?
That's fucking disgusting. Don't do that.
Hey.
All right. Thanks to everyone that was in the chat. I had a lot of laugh out loud moments and a bunch of very stupid in there. Love you guys.
Excellent.
We'll see you all later. I'm going to find the button that stops this thing. Peace.
See ya.